YouTube drama fireworks. Woo! I'm gonna be kind of talking about YouTube drama, but not really. I mean, not really. I don't really have any specific drama with anybody, but I'm gonna be talking about some YouTube drama because that's not really what I do mostly, but I'm not actively opposed to it, and occasionally I like to make exceptions. It's just not mostly what I do with my channel. But hey, other people do. It's not like it's going anywhere, and I'm gonna dabble a little bit into it. So, hey everybody, it's Prince of Queens, and as you notice with this screen capture, I'm sharing some artwork of a longtime subscriber of mine, probably within my first 50 to 100 subscribers. Very nice woman, young lady named Tabby Weissa. I believe she has a channel. If not, just shows up in chats sometimes and is quite nice, and sent me this on Twitter. Has always been, I hate saying the word loyal, but okay, I gotta say at this point, you know, now that the whole frenzy of everybody on YouTube attacking each other and friends turning on each other and lying about people and stuff like that, I do have to say that I really appreciate people like Tabby who never questioned whether or not she liked me at all. And really, the thing is that it was really only like, I don't know, like a really, really, really small handful of people, like probably less than 5, maybe more like 2 or 3 people who I thought were actually sort of my friends, who decided to start saying a bunch of bad stuff about me. Like, it was mainly just cognitive thought for whatever crazy reason. And then somehow Schmeckle got into it, but I didn't ever really like Schmeckle that much anyway. Those were the 2 people that really kind of felt like a knife in the back because I had been cool with them, you know? I didn't really like Schmeckle very much. I actually liked Cog, like, I thought he was cool. But, you know, other than that, it was just a bunch of people that I kind of knew who were saying bad stuff about me because reasons, and it never really made any sense to much of anybody. Like, even some of the people that joined in on trash talking me admitted that they didn't know why they were trash talking me. Like, wait, okay, so how does Prince of Queens have to do with this Kraut and Tea server? And nobody really knew, but whatever, that was in the past anyway. I honestly don't have any real reason to talk about that anymore. What I do want to say is that I did definitely go through a phase of kind of resentment and feeling like I didn't ever want to go on live streams on small channels, and I think that some people might have thought that I was like becoming a little bit snobby and thought that I was better than everyone or something like that. I don't think that that's the best way of describing it. I think it's a little bit more that a number of people that I had always been nice to, granted less than 10, kind of really turned on me for no reason at all whatsoever, just because they thought that that was the popular thing to do. And it was a feeling of great betrayal. Oh, Rin Michaelis went all crazy. Oh my god, that was annoying. That girl's, oh my god, never she's somebody that I would just actively say just never talk to, Rin Michaelis, because she followed me around on social media for a really, really long time, trying to become my friend and saying that I was her favorite YouTuber, and then like made these really, really long videos trying to smear me, and it was so obviously dishonest because I just honestly think that she's not really very intelligent. Okay. But, yeah, you know, there were a few people that kind of did that. I think that they thought it was supposed to be some sort of popular thing to do, to be mean to me or something. Like, I don't know, I was going to become the next, what's that guy's channel? No BS. I don't want to swear on my channel. Like, maybe I was going to become the next him, and that making videos about me was going to get people a bunch of views or something, but it didn't really end up that way. And I don't know. I don't really know. It just made me not want to talk to a lot of people because it was like, I didn't do anything wrong, and you guys are so stupid that you think that making trash talky videos or streams where you trash talk me is gonna somehow be a good YouTube move. Like, why would I want to go anywhere near you, your friends, or basically anybody that's like you? You know, all the people that make YouTube videos that are almost entirely composed of trash talking other people, I just avoided anybody like them and anybody who knew them for a long time. And now I would be a little bit more open to potentially talking to smaller channels. I just went on this guy's channel, Disturbing Trends, who was a perfectly nice guy, who I thought maybe was kind of like that, just because I didn't really know him. He had made a video about my drama with Magdalene Burns, so that's why I got that impression from him. But I talked to him a bunch, and he's a really nice guy. Go check out his channel. Tabby Wisa, really nice. I am not ungrateful to my longtime subscribers. I'm not at all ungrateful to my patrons, obviously. I am still interested in talking to people, but it just got to the point where people bringing up weird rumors about me or my friends or my connections with my friends, and, you know, saying, like, acting like I should know every detail about Jeff Holiday's life. Like, I'm not even really very good friends with Jeff Holiday, you know? So, like, it was just so absurd. It just made me want to dissociate from much of the YouTube sphere because it was distracting me from my work, because I actually have a very specific kind of goal of what I try to do on YouTube in terms of the gender-specific issues of men and boys, fighting against crooked media in the regressive left, the Democratic Party, and stuff like that. You know, the stuff I actually talk about on my channel. It was just distracting me, so I just completely tuned out. And then the live streams that I would go in, when I can live stream, which is almost never, I haven't been able to live stream on my channel for a long time. When I do live stream, I live stream on the Gaytriarchy channel, and that fills it. I'm cool with that. That's all I really need to do. So yeah, that's been the story with me, and whether or not I've been participating in drama, I've really tried to avoid it as much as possible. I'll bring it up in these little rambles sometimes. So yeah, okay. I'm going to move on to talking about other people that I don't know at all, really, in any way, but why not? Why not? So the first person that I want to talk about is that I discovered this channel yesterday, I believe it was, that is this MGTOW guy that has just been making me, I don't know, simultaneously giggle and fap. So I guess his name is LFA. And he's a MGTOW, but he's only been around for a few months. And, okay, allegedly he's a MGTOW. And I'm just gonna have a picture of him up because, hey, I don't know what type of guys you like, but I think that most of us can agree that he's pretty hot, right? Like, he's totally cute, and he's ripped. Can't really see how ripped because I haven't seen the full torso shot. You could maybe show us, buddy. That would be cool. I don't know how much money. Do you have a Fiverr for that? You know, I'm not really sure, but yeah. So he's totally hot, and he's a MGTOW, and I've been watching his videos, and I really can't tell if he's an actor. Like, I honestly wonder whether he's a real MGTOW that actually is into MGTOW stuff, or if he's just kind of an actor that's doing it for some other reason, because it's just so strange. And I've never really gotten into MGTOW. Like, I don't actually know what the deal is all that much. Like, I've tried to sort of get it, and there's some people that I've enjoyed videos of. Like, I've enjoyed certain turd flinging monkey videos, and to be perfectly truthful, I've found some Sandman videos interesting, though I've heard that he's kind of a whack job. But I just don't, I don't know, when they start talking about MGTOW stuff, I end up zoning out and I get bored, and I can't really talk about it all that much, or listen to it all that much. So I don't want to say that I even really understand it that well, But one of the things that I know that MGTOWs definitely say is that they say that MRAs aren't good enough because MRAs are trying to reform the system, and they are better because they're trying to boycott the system so that the system will be forced to reform, or maybe there's different plans of action for MGTOWs. Like some MGTOWs just think that females are awful, or I don't really know. But one of the things that they seem to have in common is that they think that MGTOW is more of a threat to the gynocentric feminist establishment than MRAs are. They think that MGTOW is going to have more of an impact. And I'm looking at this guy, LFA, and I'm thinking to myself, what if they're right? Like, what if this MGTOW movement is a threat to feminists because they're going to boycott women? And so they sent in this double agent dude that's an actor to try to become controlled opposition to the MGTOW crowd. And he's hot, and so a lot of guys will look up to him and want to be kind of like him, and then he's going to lead them astray, and he's going to ruin their little movement. Maybe that's what's going to happen, right? I don't really know. But if I was a MGTOW, I've watched 4 or 5 of his videos, and he just kind of meanders and doesn't really say anything that particularly is interesting, really. And he has the audacity to try to say that he's like no hotter than a 7, when I would say he's probably more like in between an 8, 9, maybe slightly above a 9, depending upon what you're into. Like if you're into the slightly rugged look, then he's over a 9. Because there's, he doesn't have like ripped abs. And sure, a lot of people would say that guys are supposed to have ripped 6-pack or 8-pack abs to be the hottest guy ever. But that's not really true unless you're like an underwear model. Most women especially don't actually really want guys that actually have that. It looks pretty and maybe it's good for sex sometimes, but it's actually not very comfortable. It's not very good to cuddle with a guy that's like that because it feels like a brick. So he's plenty fine. He's well above an 8 for most women, and he says that his face is average or maybe below average. Well, that's just not true. He's totally cute. I don't know what he's talking about. His nose looks like maybe it got broken one time, but a lot of females find that attractive because it makes him slightly imperfect, but he has a totally cute brow line, and his hair and beard are in style right now. So when somebody has a slight imperfection, it makes them feel better about their imperfections. And I just don't know why he would tell the MGTOW crowd that he's like nowhere above a 7 or whatever. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, because I imagine that a lot of the guys that watch MGTOW channels are not particularly good looking themselves. And I think it's kind of a poor message to send those guys that this guy who's so good looking is, actually not good looking, and he's also a MGTOW. And it's like, what is going on? Like, what alternate reality are we living in? But that's just my observation from being a gay guy who doesn't really even know that much about how MGTOW actually works. My friend Spacepan actually watches a lot of their videos, so I'd be interested to hear his commentary on it. But, okay, so what I found most interesting, is that this LFA guy is actually beefing with Sandman. So Sandman is probably the biggest MGTOW channel besides maybe Turd Flinging Monkey. I don't know, but I think Sandman is the biggest. And Sandman apparently doesn't like this guy, and they are arguing. And I can't help but be reminded of the Tree of Logic and Candace Owens situation, where there was this kind of undertone or maybe overtone of Tree of Logic sort of saying that Candace Owens is just a fake poser, pretty girl who's, doing what Tree of Logic was doing and kind of stole the whole, like, black girl that is no longer a Democrat shtick on YouTube. And she's getting a lot of views because she's good looking. I have to wonder if Sandman is doing that to this guy, and he's just sort of mad because this guy's getting a lot of attention because he's hot, and he's only been around for a few months, and they're having beef in that same kind of way. That's what I'm thinking. And I find it really, I just find it totally interesting, really. I guess I don't really have all that much to actually say about it. But I just wanted to direct people's attention to it. So, yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to branch off from there. There's this guy named Brandon Straka, and you've probably heard of him by now if you're on the internet a lot. I have been getting asked so many times to talk to this guy, like so many times. I've gotten well over a dozen, probably over 20 people telling me that I should talk to him or asking my opinion on the hashtag walkaway campaign because it's started by some gay hairdresser who made literally one video, by the way, and it's turned into a movement. Okay, I don't have anything against him. I guess that I liked the video largely. Like, there's a lot of things that he said that was true. But now I'm kind of gonna do a little bit of a tree of logic against Candace Owens kind of a sentiment, but it's not gonna be just from me. It was kind of a video that just sort of summed up a massive amount of things that A, myself, B, Milo Yiannopoulos, C, probably even Lucian Wintrick, and D, Dave Rubin have been saying for literally years. Like, we have been talking about how the Democrats are all the things that the walkaway campaign is based upon. We've been saying that for years. Some of us getting more attention than others, but it's not like we haven't been getting any attention at all. And so it's kind of like, oh, so now there's this new movement because of this one video? That's interesting. That's interesting. Like, I don't really know what to say about that. It just seems okay. What I want to say is that I want to talk to this guy. I've tried to tweet at him. I think I wrote him a DM, and I think I've tried to talk to him on Facebook or something. But ultimately, a lot of people want me to talk to him. Many people have messaged me saying so, and I'm totally fine with that. Like, I have no problem with this guy. You know, he's like an actor or whatever, and a hairdresser, and he wrote a video that I mostly agree with. Why wouldn't I want to talk to him? Right? I would totally talk to him. He can come on the Gay Triarchy. Maybe we can stream on my channel when I can next month. Maybe we can make a video together. Maybe we can record an interview on Skype. I would be totally fine with talking to this guy. The audience wants to see it. I make lots of videos. He made one. Fine. Let's do this. You know, so if you guys want to see this, hit him up, cuz I tried, and you know, he's getting a lot of attention right now. This thing is kind of blown up, blah 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 blah. I'm sure that was completely coincidental. I'm sure that the video was not promoted with a paid endorsement on Facebook or anything, you know. I'm sure it just randomly went viral, and therefore he's busy. So hit him up if you want to see him talk to me. How about that? Okay. Lastly, I wanted to talk about Tim Pool, because I was listening to Tim Pool's Culture War podcast last night, and okay, I mostly like Tim Pool, and I like him in the way that I feel like I have a lot in common with him. Like, he really reminds me a lot of myself, like a lot. Like, out of all of the YouTubers that are out there, I think that Tim Pool might actually be the most like myself in terms of his background, his social scene, what he does for hobbies, and maybe even his attitude, like the way that he talks and that he just goes on and gets like really heated and is really intense, and it's hard to really interrupt him. And if you do interrupt him, then he immediately interrupts you back. And, you know, like when he's talking to people, he like kind of does that. like he interviews people, but it's always like half Tim Pool talking, and I feel like I kind of do that, which is fine. Like there's definitely merits to that. Like there's a reason that people watch him, there's a reason that people watch me, and I really do value his on the ground reporting. But I have to say, I'm kind of getting a little bit tired with his like Chicken Little catastrophizing of the civil war that is supposedly about to happen, or is happening, or already happened, or I don't really know. I think that was the topic of discussion that they were having on the Culture War podcast. I was listening to this while I was doing exercises last night. Well, this sort of stretch thing where I just lie on my back on these foam things that I got from a chiropractor because it helps my back because I have back problems because my leg is longer. Anyhow, Tim Pool was just like talking to his friends about the Civil War that maybe is going to happen, and he was talking about how there was violence last year and that could lead to more violence. And that woman, that young woman who is always with him, who's very mild-mannered and seems very smart, she honestly was kind of like, it didn't seem like she wanted to say so, but but I feel like she was kind of thinking at certain parts like, Tim, get a grip. Okay? There isn't, like, actually going to be a civil war. But I wanted to give my take about what I think is actually happening. And see, with Tim Pool, I honestly can't tell if he's just trying to get views, which I think that there's some of that. Like, I think that he's noticed that when he makes a video saying, could this be the start of the Civil War or something like that, it gets a lot of views. I'm sure that happens. And I'm sure then that gives a psychological reinforcement in his head where he is inclined to start believing that maybe he's on to something when he publishes a video like that, right? But in actuality, what that really just means is that people are like, oh, does he know something that I don't? And then you listen to the video and it turns out he doesn't really. Usually, like, he's just sort of making a mountain out of a molehill out of one particular event. I think that there's a lot of that, but I also think that he's been kind of psychologically traumatized. Like, he might actually have some sort of PTSD or something, or whatever, based in the fact that he went to Venezuela and they tried to kill him, and he's been to a lot of Antifa protests where he was called a Nazi. So I imagine Tim Pool is a deeply, deeply paranoid person anyway. So he's slightly on edge. And he is exaggerating stuff in his head just due to his own personal, immediate proximity to the actual violence of the radical Marxists and stuff. That would be largely my guess. But I wanted to give my take upon what he was talking about in terms of the Civil War. Like, is there going to be a Civil War? And honestly, I don't think so. I think that what is actually happening is rather simple. The vast majority of Americans, like the American zeitgeist of the different regions and cities, like there's probably at least a good 8-9 zeitgeists in America of how people really think that are somewhat separate, right? Collective unconsciouses of various regions. Well, there's some that were just always hating the Democrats, but out of the ones who didn't, out of the ones who were Democrats and hated the Republicans and hated the white male patriarchy, those places genuinely did not believe that Trump had any chance in hell of winning. So when he did win, it just turned their world upside down, and they wanted to believe literally every explanation for, like they went through the 7 stages of grief, and, at first it was rage, and then it was denial. At first it was rage, punch a Nazi, then it was denial, well, it was all Putin, or, maybe not in those orders, but you can imagine sort of what I'm saying. And then eventually, now, okay, I've come up with a phrase, and I'm going to make a whole video about this, but 2017 was the year that the Democrats realized that they truly did lose the 2016 election. And 2018 is going to be the year that the Democrats realized that they truly deserved to lose the election. That's what I'm thinking. Because, honestly, more and more people are starting to actually just, people that a year ago would not listen to a single thing that I said on Facebook. Like, my regressive SJW friends that, actually think that everybody on Facebook that disagrees with them is a troll hired by Putin or something, but they knew me in person, so they couldn't dismiss me entirely, but they wouldn't listen to anything I said anyway. Well, they're starting to listen to me when I tell them Obama legalized the usage of propaganda on the American people. They're like, oh yeah, how? And I'm like, by overturning the Smith-Mundt Act. And they're like, oh. Like, I think they're starting to explore the possibility that maybe I really just was right the whole time. I mean, I don't know why it's never occurred to them. I kind of predicted the election. But now they're starting to actually think about reality a little bit. And I don't think that there's going to be some moment where these people have epiphanies and realize, like, oh my god, we did a horrible thing by talking about punch a Nazi, and there's not actually Nazis everywhere, and Trump isn't actually a Nazi, he's not really literally Hitler, blah, 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 blah. Because I don't think that that's how people react. From my experiences over the course of my life, that's not actually what people do when they behave in really, really awful ways that they end up regretting. From my experience, most people, the vast majority of people, are not big enough to actually come clean and apologize for what they did and publicly admit to what they did. I try to do that, but I imagine even myself has a tendency to occasionally instead try to kind of revise history and just pretend like it didn't happen. So all of a sudden everybody moves on and pretends that, they'll find some reason to complain about Trump, but it's no longer that he was literally Hitler. And then they'll pretend that the literally Hitler thing never really happened, that they weren't encouraging violence in the street, that violence didn't happen all that much. Life goes on as usual, and that will probably be the trends over the coming years. That's just my guess. And the reason that I think things got to the point that they did is because of the massive amount of media corruption. And Tim Pool knows this better than anybody, just how dishonest the press actually is. And they were colluding with social media companies, and that had never happened before. Like, we never witnessed a massive cultural shift like what happened during the Obama years, when everybody got on Facebook, and then everybody was getting their news from Facebook, and then all of the news they were getting on Facebook was news from the Democratic Party. That had never happened. So it was so easy to get completely brainwashed, because it didn't feel like people were scrolling through cable television where people can slightly divorce it from, their daily life. It's just like, oh, well, that's just TV. Well, Facebook felt more intimate because it was their friend list. They thought that their friend was essentially a cable news channel because their friend would share Francesca Ramsey videos. And that has a very profound effect on the way that people internalize messages and actually start to believe things like a fascist dictator is taking over America. But when they start to finally realize it isn't true, it's not just embarrassment, but for a lot of people, it will be rage and it will be shame. And I think that it's starting to enter into those phases. And it really, really doesn't help that there's people like Maxine Waters out there acting like the most ridiculous, like, Maxine Waters is the craziest crazy person in all of political history, possibly. And they asked for her to exist. Like, all of the identity politics and intersectionality and, affirmative action. She is the very embodiment of everything that could potentially go wrong with all of those things. She's a strong, unapologetic black woman that don't care about y'all respectability politics. So she will openly call for harassment of the administration. And when you call her out on it, she will say, well, you can't call me out. I'm a black woman or something. I mean, I don't know if she said that, but a lot of people said that in her defense in the press. Like, that definitely happened. And now she's getting death threats, and she's like quadrupling down. I believe that she tweeted something to the effect of, or she said to somebody, well, if you're gonna shoot me, you better shoot straight, because there's nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. Like, seriously. I mean, like, what is that supposed to mean? This is like a woman that's like over 70 years old talking about like getting in street gunfights or something. Like, what kind of statement is that from a politician? And of course the Democrats and the leftists are not going to criticize her because A, they agree with her, and B, she's a black woman. But well, and sorry, not the Democrats. No, a lot of Democrats are criticizing her. A lot of them are saying, wait, this is a crazy person. Like, what have we done? We created a monster. And they did. Like, she's an absolute monster, Maxine Waters. She's horrible. She's wretched. And they enabled it. They enabled this woman to become the way that she is with their identity politics and stuff. And, you know, by praising her for the reclaiming your time stuff, she started thinking that she was some sort of a political rock star and that she was above criticism. And, but she has a screw loose, like, clearly. And yeah, people don't end up siding with that kind of thing over time. People see it for what it is. And sure, there's been a lot of smaller nations that have had civil wars and collapse due to things like what's going on in America today. But I don't think people have the steam to escalate it any more than it already has been escalated, especially considering things like, you know, the walk away campaign. People are pittering out and coming to their senses and feeling deeply embarrassed to have acted the way that they did and to be even vaguely, tangentially associated with the party of people like Maxine Waters. So if there was a civil war, it already happened, and it was 2017, the Summer of Blood. There's videos all over YouTube. People should make a documentary about all of the different Antifa fights that happened that summer, because they were happening literally every week. Somewhere, Antifa was picking a fight with somebody, usually losing after a while, I think. I don't know. I don't really remember. But, yeah. That's my answer to you, Tim Pool. But I do like you. I think that we have a lot in common. Who's your main on Overwatch, by the way? I'm Sombra main. Okay, bye.